Welcome back to Travel Stories Unpacked, the travel podcast where we talk about all things from the silly to the serious and everywhere in between. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I am one of your hosts, Ashley Newton.
And I'm Annie Yu. And today we are talking about something we've been wanting to talk about for a while, actually.
But now we have experience.
Yeah, like very recent experience. So for those of you who are part of KHM Travel Group, you know that our biggest event of the year is the Crystal Conference. Woo woo. And this past year, we were in Orlando, Florida. And one of the days we got to go to Universal.
Yeah.
My first time at Universal. But you're a much more experienced.
It was my first time too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why did I think you'd been before?
Probably because I should have been before.
Okay.
But no, I mean, maybe when I was a kid, my family will always pull that stuff out and they're like, you were there when you were 2. I'm like, okay.
Do you ever get mad? Because it's like, why would you take me when I was that young? I'm not going to remember this.
Well, I don't get mad about that because, like, you know, they probably wanted to enjoy whatever we were doing as well as adults. But, like, I get mad when they expect me to remember. Because I'm like, I was a literal infant. Like, I don't recall
all you knew how to do was scream.
I didn't see anything but the stroller, dude.
Yeah,
like, I could
like
have been
the
anywhere.
lid of the stroller because it's so bright out.
Oh, this is totally off topic, but Annie, can I tell you the story of me and my stroller as a kid?
No.
So you're like, no, let's stay on topic.
No, I'm just trying to
But I'm gonna tell you anyway.
Okay. Like, oh, you were a stroller kid. Like,
I literally was. Like, I was a very content child, is how like my family describes me, and I would not get out of this stroller. Like, I would not get out and walk around. So like, it's also easier, you know, whatever. Then they don't get tired and they don't cry. So I did not get out of my stroller until the wheels fell off when we were at the zoo. And then they were like, all right, girl, like, we're not getting you a new one. You're going to have to just walk now. So they pitched it in the trash can right there at the zoo. And that was the end of my stroller days. So
I'm sorry.
It is. It's very sad. And I think about it sometimes when you see those people that do like the motorcycle sidecars, you know, and then one person drives a motorcycle and the other person just sits in the sidecar. I feel like that's the closest you can get to like an adult stroller experience.
Well, the thing with like theme parks in general is like you walk so much. I think
my gosh.
The day at Universal, I averaged like 19,000 steps or something. But if someone were like, hey, for X amount of money, you can ride an adult-sized stroller and it has a fan.
The shade.
I'd be like, dude, sign me up.
A little bag of snacks.
Yeah, like adult strollers, but let's not make it weird.
Literally. But it's funny you bring up the amount of steps you got at Universal because I got a lot, but not even a fraction of what I got at the silent disco. I mean, my rings were just like circling. Okay, so let's talk about it. Both of our first times at Universal, what was there anything that you were immediately like, you know, since I'm here, I have to experience this?
Obviously the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Because if you have seen a previous episode, you'll know that growing up, I was a huge Harry Potter fan to the point where I ripped pages out of Goblet of the Fire so my sister couldn't finish it before I could.
Petty queen. We love to see it.
Yeah, she still holds that over me. It's like, God, let it go. But the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, absolutely. And I got really lucky because we went there, but we kind of went our separate ways, right? You and I. And me and Bree, who's also a KHM team member, she's a huge Harry Potter fan as well. And she brought her wand from when she went there like many, many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So it was kind of nice because I was with someone who's been there before. And she was like, oh, if you go through this store, it cuts through to this. So it was really awesome that she can kind of lead the way because it's like really overwhelming, to be honest. Like it's a total assault on the senses. But what I like that to get to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, you had to walk through Jurassic Park and then you had to walk through Skull Island.
Okay, so actually there are two. This was confusing for me. When you get to Universal, there are 2 parks, just like how Disney is multiple parks. You know, like you've got Epcot, Magic Kingdom, whatever. Universal has the same thing. And when we were there were 2. So you had Universal Studios,
yes,
Islands of Adventure, and then now opening soon is Epic Universe, but it wasn't open when we went. I believe it's end of May that Epic Universe is opening.
Yeah, Bree was pretty upset about that. Because they're doing the entirety of like Ministry of Magic, for Universe or for Epic.
Yeah. So. Okay. So then think about that though. You're gonna have 3 parks, and all 3 parks have different Harry Potter things. So if you want to experience all of the Wizarding World, you have to go to each park.
And I did not know that Diagon Alley was way on the other side. And you can take a train, but the wait for the train was You didn't know this?
It was an hour.
Yeah. So I'm like, let's just walk.
It takes like 10 minutes to walk there.
It was a lot longer than 10
what?
minutes.
Oh, I mean, we were like.
Oh, that's why you got your steps in.
We were booking it.
But yeah, no, it's...
So you were at the Wizarding World. My goodness, I'm not going to say that anymore.
Harry Potter. We're just going to call it Harry Potter World from here on out.
So you were at the Harry Potter part in the Islands of Adventure, right? Because that's where
to
Jurassic
begin with.
Park
But
and
eventually
everything.
we made it over to Diagon Alley.
Okay, gotcha.
But of course, everyone wants to see the flame-breathing dragon, right?
Yeah, over Gringotts.
Yeah. So I stood in the same spot for probably 30 plus minutes, because allegedly it's supposed to go off every 10, 15 minutes. And by the time it hits the 40-minute mark, I'm like, dude, I'm standing there with my action camera that's on like a 6-foot pole, which you saw me running around with. I'm like, I'm so ready to ruin everyone who's behind me, like their shots, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it hasn't gone off. Like, is the pilot light out? Like,
somebody light the dragon.
Yeah. Oh, like, did they forget to pay their gas bill?
Yeah,
but turns out that day it was just too windy.
Oh, it's too windy.
Yeah, I'm like, so what's a little wind?
Yeah, there's a little risk. It's a dragon.
Yeah, it's a dragon. Come on.
That is the Gringotts area, and everything is where you see in the Islands of Adventure area. You've got Hogsmeade, and then you have the castle.
Oh, the castle was amazing.
I did get teary.
Okay, so I ran into Ashley. I think you were heading the other way and I was heading in, because the group I ended up with.
Yeah, we were heading towards Jurassic Park.
Yeah. So, and you were like, did you ride it? I'm like, I'm about to. And you go, I cried.
I did. And it was so funny because, like, I wasn't expecting to really have an emotional response at all. And then for some reason, the snow-capped, like, little Hogsmeade buildings and the silhouette. And I won't lie, the weather there that day was just gorgeous. So you just have this
perfect.
Beautiful, like, little wispy clouds and this beautiful bright blue sky, and then the outline of the castle. And I was like, oh, okay, like, I'm crying now.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't drop to my knees and, like, be like, Mom, record me crying. Yeah. Like, it wasn't like that.
Drop to your knees and shouted to the skies. Yeah. Arms outstretched.
No.
But that ride was amazing. Like,
okay, so you're talking about the ride actually inside the castle.
Because when we first got to the park, on the app, it said the wait was like an hour and a half. By the time we actually got there, though, it was only 25 minutes.
Oh, man.
I know.
I hate that news.
I know. But they did it right, because it's like, listen, they know it's going to be a popular attraction. So they're like, you know what? If you're going to wait in line, you might as well, like, make your way through the castle itself. So, like, Dumbledore's office, like... It was really, really cool.
I will say that is something that I appreciate with Universal, because I noticed that on the Mummy ride as well, is that they make the whole thing feel like an immersive experience.
Even though you're just standing there.
Yeah.
And mind you, like, in Cleveland, we're used to a place like Cedar Point where the only entertainment, when you're waiting in line, is pointing out people's bad tattoos.
So what you do? Is that how you kill time in line?
Yeah, that's it's what I like to call bad tattoo season. Like June at Cedar Point. Oof.
Pride Day at Cedar Point is fun. It's always Father's Day.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a really fun time to go.
Yeah, but that was another thing. I had to manage my expectations a little bit, because like Cedar Point, it really is considered one of the world's best amusement parks, right?
It's thrill rides.
Like record-breaking roller coasters. Like I said, I really had to manage my expectations, because as much as I dislike amusement parks, I love roller coasters. So I'm used to...
What a paradox for you
I
to
know.
have to live
I
with.
think it's like, I just hate standing in line for things. I hate it.
Yeah.
If I have to stand in line any longer than 15 minutes for something, I'm out. I'm over it. I'm so over it.
So when I was a kid, we would kill time in line by like playing games. So you'd play like the animal game,
Spot the bad
song
tattoo
game, like I Spy, so that's what we did as kids. Now as adults, if the line's pretty long, I get a beer beforehand. And do that with your own caution, depending on how you feel on rides. But I'm pretty good about killing time. But this day I didn't want to do that at all. So I mean, we were there for like 3 hours. So if you wait in line for like an hour ride, that's like your whole day.
Oh, I was there all day. I think I was there from 1 p.m. I didn't get back to the hotel till like 10.
So my strategy wasn't
It
wasn't find a good coaster and spend my time in line. It was hit as many rides as possible.
Yeah, the first one Brie and I did was the Hulk, because it was right there. There was very little wait
So
time.
you started on the adventure side.
Yes,
Okay.
I think. I don't know. She was leading
the
me.
Hulk, all that. Like the bigger
but can I
coasters
just
are for
say,
sure
like,
on that side.
we at some point cut through like Looney Tune Town or something. I'm like, this is a nightmare. This is absolutely nightmare
So there
fuel
was
for me.
Dr. Seussville.
It was Dr. Seussville.
And then there was the like vintage comic book area.
Yeah, which that was cool. I like
Okay.
the New York City recreation, but the Dr. Seuss land, I'm like, this is pure nightmare fuel. I hate everything about this.
Dr. Seuss land, I feel, is definitely for little ones. You know,
Well, that explains it then why I hate it.
But I have seen from one of my favorite content creators on TikTok, Shay Spence, I think is his name. He does all these food reviews. Like, I feel like he's eaten every single thing in all of Universal and all of Disney. Like, that's just like, you know, it's his job. That's how he makes money. He did a review of like the Seuss part of Universal at Christmas time, and it's all, you know, decorated, and the Grinch is there, and they have themed foods. So that's really the only reason I would ever spend a minute in the Seuss land, is like if it was Christmas and there was Grinch.
And even
stuff.
then, a minute, that's a long time to spend there.
No, get some Who hash. 1 minute, 60 seconds
Yeah.
is too much.
Yeah. It's just like a bad fever dream.
I mean, it's cute, but it's definitely not my demographic. You know what I mean? Like, it's not for me.
Yeah. And here I am like, do you think there's a smoking area here?
Oh, they're where I found them. Yeah.
And then Dr. Seuss.
No. They're just puffing out a cigarette.
Yeah.
Kids, go around one more time. No.
Mama needs a break. We're probably gonna have to cut that part.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
So did you ever make it over to Disney?
In like while we were there?
Yeah.
Or no?
Is
like,
that a thing?
No, I didn't do that at all.
Have you been to Disney?
Yes, but I was young.
Again, why? So you can't remember anything about it? Or you don't?
No, actually, I have some traumatic memories from my only Disney experience. For some reason, that the Snow White ride at the end, where the witch is like causing an avalanche, just destroyed me. I mean, nightmare after nightmare after nightmare about this ride, and like I was already kind of afraid of her, but it was my favorite movie
Of the witch.
Mm-hmm.
Like
that
Snow
witch
White is like the least scariest
well,
thing.
I
in
mean,
the
I
world.
don't trust her either now as an adult, but
yeah. She is a little sus.
I mean, it's very much a movie of the time. What is that, 1939 or something when that came out?
I think it was one of the first animated movies.
Yeah.
I think it actually was the first animated movie, wasn't it?
It definitely was feature-length film for Disney anyway,
Yeah.
their first. But that's pretty much all I remember, is that the parade, like Minnie Mouse's house, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't tell you the quality of the rides really, aside from at the time it was Splash Mountain, where it looks like you're going into the thickets. That was scary.
Is Splash Mountain now the one that's like famous for people like dressing up for the camera? Have you seen that? Is that what I'm thinking of?
I don't know. People do that for Tower of Terror too.
But I've seen people like, I don't know, like logistically how they manage this. Like they bring like a picnic table with like plates and forks and pretend like they're eating, but it's just for the camera as like they're in this ride that's going down.
Know, but bless
really
the cast
impressive.
members that have to deal with this.
My favorite one was like a group of guys. Someone brought like a huge flat screen, and another guy brought like a PS2, and they're pretending,
playing games. Oh my God.
But I will say, like, I feel like this is a common thread for adults, is that they were traumatized by a ride. Because for me, not a ride, but I do think animatronics are kind of scary. And I blame that on Rainforest Cafe and like, this is not the first time I mentioned this. Like, there's something terrifying about you're just trying to eat your burger and there's like a gorilla behind you, just like, with
like, the mechanical sound effects.
Yeah, and like the red laser eyes. Like, that was terrifying. And if you were a mall kid in the 90s, then you would know.
So our hotel was in walking distance to Disney Springs. If you're not familiar with the area, Disney Springs is essentially a Disney sort of complex that is mainly just like shops and restaurants. So no rides, aside from if you count that like balloon thing and the aqua car thing.
Fortunately, I did not make it to Disney Springs once.
Shut up. You didn't go to Disney Springs once?
Mm-mm.
What did you do to eat?
I DoorDashed. Because like we've said it before, or I just ate at the hotel, because the hotel food was not bad either. It was pretty good. Because we said it before, like Crystal for us is still work.
Oh yeah.
And it's a lot of work. So usually by the time 8 o'clock rolls around, like I just want to eat in the dark like a gremlin in silence.
Well, they had a rainforest cafe.
No, thank
at
you.
the
Absolutely
Disney
not.
Springs.
Rainforest of nightmares. So I've never been to Disney World, but I have been to Disneyland, the one in California.
Correct.
And God, this was many, many years ago when my sister and her family were living out there. So we went to Disneyland, and my brother-in-law was like, "Do you even really want to go?" I'm like, "Well, if you guys are going, I'll go, you know." And it was a hot day.
Ugh.
Like the sun just beating down on you. And I think we were there at like 10 a.m. And I like muttered something to my sister. I'm like, I could really go for a mimosa. And she goes, "Oh my God, are you an alcoholic? Like, do you have a drinking problem?" I'm like, "No, it's just there's a lot of kids around." So this was around like 10 o'clock. By 11:30, she's like, "We need to find a place with a margarita." Like, I can't. Like, I already mentioned I hate waiting in line for things. And this is like when like Frozen came out. So it was like, you know, the thing. And like my older niece, who at the time was probably 8 years old, was dressed like Anna.
Yeah.
Wanted to meet, I think it was Anna. I don't know. But she really, really wanted to wait in line. I'm like, "Are you sure?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Are you sure?" Like, "Are you sure?" I'm like,
Oh,
"Please
for
don't."
like a character meet?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm like, so by the end of the day, I started calling it Disney lines.
That's funny.
And I'm like, I can't stand it. Because there at the time, it was kind of similar to like there's different parks. There's Disneyland and California Parks or
California Adventure, maybe?
Yeah, something like that. And you had to take a monorail. Well, there's only one place in the entirety of that area that sells alcohol. And we had to take a monorail to get there. And let me tell you, the food was not the attraction, but the margaritas were really good.
Talking about like alcohol experiences, Universal, it was, it wasn't in your face. It wasn't like everybody's getting trashed or anything, but you could easily access it and find it pretty much anywhere you wanted. But for me, we walked through the park and I pretty much beelined for Krusty Land, Springfield, the Simpsons area. I grew up on it and I just had to see it. But my number one goal was to get a Duff beer. And I gotta say, it was not bad.
What kind of beer is it?
It was just a lager, I think. They had a light one and a regular one. I went with light. And it actually had flavor because I was expecting Bud Light quality. You know what I mean? Drinking water that's beer flavored or colored or whatever. But it actually had substance. It tasted like, like a pretty
So
good
between a butterbeer and a Duff beer.
Okay, so I did not have a butterbeer because there are no alcoholic butterbeers in the parks. And since I already said this on the bus ride home, I wasn't wasting valuable stomach space on sugar water.
It's good. It's real estate. It's valuable real estate
Well,
here.
yeah, and on a day like that, you're kind of running around, like, I don't know, going on rides. So, no, I didn't end up having anything butterbeer flavored. We didn't actually eat anything in the park at all.
I'm trying to think. I don't think we did either. Although at some point I saw this couple walking around and I'm like, relationship goals. They're both walking with a giant turkey leg.
Oh my God,
like,
the turkey leg.
I'm talking like the size of my arm, like not even exaggerating,
Yeah, they were
like
huge.
massive. And like they're just eating them like so nonchalantly. I'm like, I hate eating with my hands already. So to see like this couple, like they were just like the cutest little couple.
Yeah.
And but they both, I'm like, y'all couldn't have shared one? Like you both just wanted your own one.
Sharing a turkey leg sort of feels almost like sharing like corn on the cob, though. It's like a gross food to like split in a way.
Well, you're not gonna like Lady and the Tramp it from one side to the other.
Watch me. No.
That's bonus content for next episode.
If enough people comment, Annie and I will Lady and the Tramp a turkey leg. No, we won't. I mean, will we? Let's find out.
I know. I do like bone marrow, so can I get the bone side of it?
Oh, I've had bone marrow once at like one of those fancy little restaurants, It's part
like
of
the
like
roasted
the
bone
pate or
marrow.
whatever.
Yeah,
like a whole
it's
little
so
spread.
good.
It was delicious. Yeah, it's
So
just like
good.
buttery, flavorful deliciousness.
Speaking of Epcot, two of my really good friends, well, Billy and Julie, they went to Epcot for someone's bachelorette party. I can't remember, but they did the Epcot like world
Around the world thing.
Yeah. And I think by the time they made it to like Italy, they were just done.
Yeah.
Like it's expensive too.
My sister-in-law did that recently for her birthday as well. I would absolutely do it.
So what is it? You just
Get a drink at all of the countries that are represented in Epcot. So like, you go to margarita for your Mexico. No, you go to Mexico for your margarita, beer at the German pavilion or whatever. However
that's a
it is.
challenge.
It's honestly, I saw somebody do a tally on the cost and I was actually pretty impressed that it wasn't more astronomical, because that's the
Really?
first thought to me is just like, you're just dropping so much money so
Right.
fast.
It's like paying for a beer at a concert. Like
Oh,
why? Like a
but
Bud
concert
Light?
beers are at least like, all right, we'll give you
Not
like
anymore.
a
In
big
this
one.
in this economy? No, not these days.
We're probably going to different concerts too. I'm like going to see my friend play
Oh,
in Lakewood. You know what I mean?
That's true. But yeah, overall experience though, like I said, I think even leading up to when we went, I was saying I really want to go to Harry Potter World, never been. So I can check that off my list now.
Absolutely. So what was your favorite ride?
For sure the castle. I was just really, really impressed by the combination of like the production value of it. Because it's not like you're just on a roller coaster track, which is what I thought it was. You're sitting next to 3 other people like per coaster, and the way it's designed, it's like a moving arm, like a claw machine almost, and it like picks you up and turns you around, and like in combination with these rooms that have like 360-degree screens, and there were some animatronics. I hated that part, but it was just a really cool experience, and definitely not what I thought it was going to be in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Skull Island ride. That was really cool.
And that one, you told me you just sort of got into accidentally. Like you
Yeah.
were like checking something out or like trying to get out of somebody's way and ended up like in line.
Yeah, like it was like I needed a break because it was like the sun was beating down a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, let's just duck into here. I thought it was just like a gift shop type of thing. And then like 20 minutes goes by. I'm like, Brie, what are we in line for? What are we in a line for a ride? And next thing you know, we're on the ride. I'm like, okay. Yeah. And like this little kid next to me was terrified, just screaming the whole time. I'm like, bro, the ride hasn't even started yet. You're being so dramatic.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, though, during the Harry Potter ride, Karen Seibert, who is our VP, one of our VPs, she sat next to me, and like hearing her alternate between screams of fear and joy, what like made the ride
Aw.
for me. It was so funny. It was very like, oh my god, oh okay.
This is a good question though. When you are on a ride, let's say like specifically a roller coaster, are you a screamer or no?
I'm a woo girl. I suddenly turned into a woo girl.
I sound deranged because I kind of laugh. Like I scream a little bit, you know, especially the first good hill.
Yeah.
But then after that, we're going on. I'm just like, hee hee hee. Like,
Well,
it's
so the
like-
first coaster that Brie and I rode, and she might get mad at me for saying this. I don't really care. We've been friends a long time, but we were standing in line, and she was kind of telling me about her dating life and how like she's having problems with this guy. And of course, I'm like, oh my gosh, like you all know how much I love it when someone complains about the same thing over and over and over again, but doesn't actually actively do anything to address the problem, right? So we get in line, and I'm like yelling at her. I'm like, you deserve so much better. Like, and we're on the ride still. It's going. I'm like, he's not worth your time. Like, I'm screaming at her, like going down these loops, and like, and she's like, I
Oh
know,
my
and she's got tears in her eyes. Like,
so that was the Hulk one, or that was the skull one?
that was the Hulk.
the Hulk
one.
one.
Yeah, I really wanted to do the Velociraptor, but that line was
Yeah.
ridiculous. That was like 3 hours. Because like I said, like Cedar Point really kind of set us up for these expectations of huge roller coasters. And
Right. You do have to immediately change your mindset,
Oh, yeah.
like you said in the beginning, of just like,
Yeah.
these are experience rides. They're not so much thrill rides. And I was actually having this conversation with somebody in line. So, you know, my strategy was hit as much as possible. So I'm really
Mhm.
only looking at wait times as I walk by. So anything that was like 25 minutes or less,
yeah.
you'd get my time. So we were walking by, and I see a roller coaster called Flight of the Hippogriff. So I'm like, this sounds great. Let's get in this line. And then we realize that it's a kiddie coaster once we're on it. Like it's
Like
for-
the lap bar
it's for
barely fits
small
over.
children, you know what I mean? And we're on the ride, and then it sort of like slows down, and my mom's like, that was the shortest roller coaster I've ever been on. We were comparing it to the mine ride at Cedar Point. So if you're
Oh.
from the area, you know, the mine ride, it's like definitely not like
Mhm.
in the top thrill millennium category. It's definitely more family friendly.
Millennium
But it's a
Force.
decently long ride. You know, it's maybe like 2 minutes or whatever. I'm
Top
telling you,
speed of 9 miles an hour.
yeah, I'm telling you, the Flight of the Hippogriff is like a 4-second ride. You go like up a hill, and then you turn a very gentle, like little curve, and then you're just back at the station.
I just picture you on this ride that's going going so slow with one turn. You're still screaming like a lunatic, like, hands up!
Smiling because you got some good views, you know, because you did get up a little bit higher at least. So you got to like see the park from a fun like view. But we were just cracking up because I was like, I'm so sorry I brought my mother on this child's ride.
You know, like how like roller coasters always tout their stats, like vertical drop of 300 feet.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder what the stats for that would have been. Like, vertical drop of 2.
Safe for an infant.
Yeah. It has a height limit, but you can't be over the height.
It did though, I think, have an accessible place to like bring your wheelchair on the ride.
Oh,
Like
that's
so
sweet.
you could just like wheel on and lock into place, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
But we were talking to this father and daughter in front of us, and I mean, she's like 3, like she's like a very small child. But we were talking to him about, you know, just what we're talking about, the difference in coasters and everything. And so I asked him the question if he had ever been to Disney and what he thought of the rides at Universal versus the rides at Disney. And he pretty much said hands down that Universal was better. It was better with the rides. It was better for the experience. It's a cheaper experience.
I just think it really depends.
Yeah.
Like, are you traveling and visiting with like small kids where they can ride the spinning teacups or whatever?
There's a lot for small kids to do at Universal, though. Like that whole area that was a nightmare for you, the Seuss area.
Yeah, if you want to traumatize
and the flight
your
of the
kids.
hippogriff, you know what I mean?
You know, assuming that you'll let them cut in front of you in line because clearly you loved it. But I think I just don't get the same vibe from Universal as I would Disney. Like Disney for me is like small kids, whereas Universal is like still like, yeah, it's family friendly, but you still can, you know, ride a roller coaster that's not.
That's
like
interesting.
I don't know.
Because
That's just
I was thinking about it from
an
adult perspective. Because, like, you know, you clearly have like the Disney adults, and like we were talking about like drinking around the world at Epcot and everything. Which I mean, okay, let's just say I haven't done Disney as an adult, and I'd like to be able to give it a full comparison. But after just going to Universal, I want to go back. Like I'm already kind of like trying to plan my next trip and figure out how I can like spend 2 days there so I can ride all the rides and do all the things. But it did feel very friendly for all ages, but specifically for like adults. Like you had more of the actual thrill rides I felt to choose from, even though it's not like Cedar Point or whatever. As far as like the crowds and just sort of dealing with like crazy lines, like, and it wasn't as complicated to figure out as Disney is.
I really thought it was going to be complicated based on my previous experience at Disneyland. I almost want to call it Disneyland.
Well, like they're always changing what they're doing with like the fast pass thing and the genie lane thing, and it's just constantly changing with Disney. So there's all these rules and things to figure out, and then like you can wait in virtual queues and you can like order stuff from your phone. And I feel like it's just becoming too burdensome for the average person to figure all of that out. Of course, use a travel agent and they will help you. But to me, Universal was just what it's supposed to be, which is fun and relaxing. Not to mention actually getting from one park to the other took pretty much no time at all. We timed it from gate to gate, and it was under 10 minutes. So that's not saying if you're coming from the back of Islands of Adventure, it only takes 10 minutes to get to the back of Studios. But from gate to gate, it was a 10-minute walk, and then you have City Walk in the front. So I'm going to have to say, based off my adult experience at Universal and my child experience at Disney, which isn't a fair comparison, Universal wins.
I'm indifferent.
Yeah, just because you don't really like either experience.
Yeah. I will never.
Not a theme park girl.
Yeah, I will never, like, if I happen to be in an area for a day and I had a couple hours, like maybe a day to kill, then yeah, I'd check it out. But I would never plan a vacation or a trip around going to a theme park. It just seems kind of strange to me.
Oh my God, you would hate the trip I'm trying to plan now. So next year...
Well, I mean, it's not like you were going to invite me anyway. So
well, no, I know, but even hearing about it's going to make you want to crawl into a hole and never travel again. So I want to cruise out of Orlando, but 2 days before, I want to do a 2-day Universal trip. And then...
Well, have so much fun. I hope you have so much fun with that.
Like, no.
I was busy anyway. Well, didn't even tell me the dates. Well, I'm busy.
Yeah, I'm just busy a lot next year.
Oh, man.
It's not going to work out.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking mainly saving on airfare. Fly down to Florida once, do all the things in that area. But speaking of, if you are from Florida...
But not Southwest.
Or watch previous episode. We don't have time to talk about it again. If you are from Florida, or maybe even just like are a really big theme park person, you know, you like to visit them, or maybe that's what you do for your business, I'd love your opinion on the whole Universal versus Disney thing. Not just because I'm trying to get free travel advice, but I genuinely want to know the opinions out there. And like Annie said, even down to, is one really better for, you know, people of a certain age, or like me, I'm an adult, I will only be with adults, you know, I don't have kids to worry about in my group. So, you know, does that change what sort of recommendation you would give? I'm really curious to see where people land on this.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if like even local Floridians, if they have a allegiance to one or the other.
Yeah. Oh, I never told you my favorite ride, because it wasn't Flight of the Hippogriff.
Oh, I actually just assumed it was. Because you talked about it a lot.
No. We did like the very first coaster when you sort of walk into the studio side, which is that one where they play music in your ears. It's called like Rockin' Rollin' Rippin' Roller Coaster or something.
Yep, nailed it.
And that was a fun ride because it's got a like really steep vertical incline. So like when you're going up, it's not like the slow little chug up a hill. You're just like going like straight up. And you got to like select the music that you wanted. I thought that was cool. And like more roller coasters should have your own soundtrack that you can
That is
pick.
pretty cool. What did you pick?
I selected R&B hip hop.
Imagine riding a roller coaster and then Pony by Genuine comes on.
It was not a song I really recognized, but the person in front of me picked country, which I would not usually pick. But then it was Shania Twain, who I love. So I was like, oh, like I kind of wish I picked your station. But it was just like fun all around. And then really quick, I gotta tell you the story of the one Jurassic Park ride we went on. Because again, it had a walk on and it was a water ride.
Oh, you did not want to do a water ride. I recall you telling me you don't want to do one.
No, I like water rides.
I must be thinking of someone else then. But
well, it might be my mom because she didn't really want to do it.
And did you make her do it anyway? Oh my God.
I did.
It's so rude.
Oh, she has like nothing on her. She has like her phone, and she's really worried about her phone. So I was like, "Don't worry, just give it to me." So I put it in my purse, and isn't it all waterproof? And then I put the purse down my shirt for an extra layer of protection. And then we go through the ride. She, of course, somehow ended up on the seat that's closer to like the edge.
Of course,
and it's one of those like raft sort of ones, so like she's gonna get more of the splash from over the side.
Your poor mom.
I know. I didn't even
Who
think
happens
about
to be
it.
like one of our biggest fans of this podcast.
But the phones were fine.
Okay,
everything came out unscathed.
You never had like a friend group you travel with where one person would wait behind and hold everyone's stuff?
That happened to me one year when I wanted to go to Cedar Point with my friends for my birthday, and it turns out one of my closest friends just like really doesn't like rides, so she like didn't go on anything. And I was like, "You're so sweet for still coming," but like
that's always been my sister.
I feel horrible now.
Yeah. Kelly was always the one who would hold our stuff, even like for hours. Like if we wanted to wait like 2-3 hours for a ride. Back when I had the patience for it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she'd bring a book, probably not Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire because the pages were missing. But yeah, she'd just sit there and read while we wait in line for hours. Like, it was really nice.
I will say the one thing I really liked about Universal is the lockers were free.
Yes.
I was so impressed by that.
Well, if it's a requirement, it should be free.
I completely agree, but it's not at Cedar Point. I have no idea about Disney, so let us know if they also do the free locker thing. And granted, they were small. So like if you're trying to stash a diaper bag or something, it wouldn't work for that. But like for our purposes, it worked great. So
before we go, I just want to tell the story of probably one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen at an amusement park.
Oh gosh. Was it here or was it somewhere else?
It was at Cedar Point. So there was a ride at Cedar Point called, I don't know if it's still there, it's called Air Max.
I love that ride.
Yeah, it's
Max
big
Air,
or Max Air, yeah. And you sit in like a circular structure and it spins while also swings back and forth. I wasn't on the ride, but I happened to be walking by and I look up because this thing swings really high in the air and it's a huge structure and it never has a weight because it holds so many people at once. And on the downswing, this kid vomits on himself on the downswing. So not only is it on him, it's on like 30 people around him and it's spinning. And I'm like, that is just, and I wasn't standing underneath it, luckily, but I'm like, that is one of the most awful things I've ever seen.
Can't imagine being on that ride, mouth open, you're screaming, you're
Have
laughing,
it, and next thing you know, someone's half-digested corn dog lands in your
stranger vomit. Stranger vomit.
Stranger danger.
Your own vomit is disgusting, but stranger vomit is just, oh no.
Right, and you can't get away from it. It's whipping you in the face, right?
What a true nightmare.
I know.
Oh my gosh. Ooh, though, that's another fun thing we'd love to hear. Your theme park mishaps, your theme park fails, the craziest things you've seen, no matter where they were. We'd love to hear it.
Oh, you know what? So this is very local to Cleveland, but the IX Indoor Amusement Park.
IX Indoor Amusement Park.
So in high school, me and two of my friends went, and we weren't driving at the time. It was one of those like, my mom can pick you up if your mom can drop us off kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
And our friend Jess didn't know that she would get motion sickness, so she got really sick after running like the Viking boat thing, you know? And she's puking in the garbage, but it's the kind of garbage where like it's like the flappy lid. There's no top. So she's trying to puke sideways into the garbage. And meanwhile, me and Megan
take the whole top off.
I know, right? So me and Megan were like, we left her because some musicians started playing music in the sides, like one of the stages. It was Rihanna. We saw Rihanna.
I'm sorry.
It was,
and I think it's Rihanna, which sounds wrong to say, but she just was at the IX.
This was like,
in
like
Cleveland.
literally, this had to been like 2005. So,
I mean, that was already like Shut Up and Drive era SOS.
No, this was like Pon de Replay era.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, we left our friend puking sideways into a garbage bag or a garbage can to go watch Rihanna at the IX Indoor
I
Amusement
probably would
Park.
have too. I probably would have too. Especially because at the time I was in dance and we had a number 2 pondery play. And I would have
Which honestly,
I would have done it
still
right
bop.
in front of her. You know
Still
what I mean?
bop, yeah.
This is the only move I remember from it.
Yeah,
These weird
so-
like hand things.
Yeah, that was my Lady Gaga performing in an IKEA parking lot before she became famous moment.
Chaperone at the Renaissance Fair.
Yeah, Taylor Swift at your local mall.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
Anyway, that's what I do enjoy people watching amusement parks, or theme parks.
Oh yeah.
Then we could do a whole nother episode on people watching while traveling.
The people were good though, I would say. Like, I didn't get super annoyed. People were keeping in a good pace. There wasn't a whole ton of shenanigans. No random sticky child fingers all of a sudden grabbing you for no reason. So
I hate that.
it was a good experience. My only complaint is that I didn't get to do everything I want to do, which is why I want to go back.
Well, when you go back, let us know if you end up going on the hippogriff again.
That'll be the first thing I run to is getting on that ride. Absolutely. Absolutely. And like we said, of course, we want to hear from you. Are you Team Disney? Are you Team Universal? Do you want to shout out another place like Busch Gardens or Dolly World or whatever? Let us know.
So if you're a very avid, staunch Universal fan or a Disney fan, let us know and why you side with one or the other. Or you maybe just like it all and you just like to have a good time. We're cool with that too. But if you have stories to share, you can email us at travelstoriesunpacked@gmail.com.
Absolutely. You can also text us directly if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform. There's a link right in that description that texts Annie and I. So we'd love to hear from you. And then, of course, you can always just drop a comment right here if you're watching on YouTube. We want to remind everybody to tune in to KHM Today, which is Wednesdays at 3 p.m. live on our YouTube channel. So make sure that you subscribe and enable notifications so that you never miss any travel news and fun.
This podcast is brought to you by KHM Travel Group, a leading host agency for independent travel agents. Head to khmtravel.com to learn more.